Welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Chill. I'm Heidi Kuda. I'm here with Jim Stewartson and High Fidelity. This is our Thursday night live stream where we recap our previous episode, and we also like to talk about some of the topical items in the news, as well as the news that somehow always seems to find us. We always somehow end up being the news, making the news. It's quite it's been a thing, man, for a few years. But anyway, happy to be here. Happy to see my friends. And I guess we should let our viewers know that if you haven't seen our most recent breaker, we interviewed the executive director of Flip the Vote. They do really good work getting money to community groups that are making a big difference in flipping the vote. It's exactly what you would think it would be. The margins that these battles are playing out on in states like Arizona and Minnesota are very, very small. And so getting money to community organizers who can actually get people to the ballot box is really incredible. And they made a big difference in Arizona in a couple of very tight races, including the governor race. And although Laura Pearl, who's the executive director, didn't want to take credit for Arizonans not having to have Kerry Lake as their governor, they certainly helped because, again, we're talking very, very small victory margins for Democrats. And so that's very exciting. And I don't know who's making all that noise. What the hell's going on? Hi-Fi. Can you?
That's me. I'm making my drink. Sorry.
Mute.
Can you be a mutant motherfucker
I'm
right
good now?
Oh
Sorry,
my God.
The bourbon needed more water.
The bourbon.
It was a little spicy this evening.
The bourbon. Anyway, so I'm happy to see you guys. I must say that Jim.
Heidi.
Yeah. What?
You're part of the club now.
Oh, do we have to talk about that? Yeah, I guess we will. I was just going to say that I'm very grateful to my friend Jim Stewartson, who has the stamina to battle all of these controlled opposition accounts that just keep coming for us. They're so obvious. And Jim, you have such a fine, you've elevated your game to some sort of art form in pointing out that they have one talking point. They stick to it. It's all they freaking know. And watching you and Keir Giles actually working in tandem the other day, I was like so stoked because they're coming for me because I wrote a story called The Cult of the Tech Bro Genius with the help of y'all. And it's shaking some shit up. We've got some tech reporters who are backpedaling on canonizing these trolls, and it's fascinating. It's also fascinating. Anyway, that's enough for me. You guys tell me what's on your mind, and we'll get to all the pertinent canoes. Yes, hi.
I have to tell a little story here because it makes me laugh every time I think about it. So our trolls, our dedicated trolls, are very insistent that I remain banned from Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And a few weeks back, we had a family get together, and I got a big family, right? Like if you count all my cousins and everything, I think there's about, 30 of us.
Uh-huh.
So I was telling some of them this story, right? And they didn't believe me. They're like, "Man, you're full of shit." I said, "No, this is dead serious. It happens every single time."
The most dangerous.
My own brothers didn't believe me. My own brothers didn't believe me. So I had one of my brothers create an account using the name Hi-Fi.
Did he get banned?
And he got banned.
They banned your brother?
had my other brother create an account, and he got banned. And I have my cousin, I think it was yesterday or today, I had my cousin in Chicago, Kyle, create an account. And his was a hi-fi compendium.
Oh,
and I tell
yeah,
him exactly what to do.
Sure.
Yeah, I tell him like who to follow, what to comment, who to retweet. Like I make it look like me. Kyle got banned. So now my cousin Ben just created one. I forget what he called his. So that's like 4 accounts that aren't actually me that have gotten banned. So now my family's starting to realize that maybe I'm not completely full of it.
No, you never have been.
And I don't know. It's just funny because it's establishing a pattern of behavior for these certain individuals that eventually will come to light. So that's a little story I thought I'd share with the group.
What's interesting is that they're not even trying to hide it. They're so proud of their handiwork. I will say I want to just give a quick shout out because I don't remember which day it was. It's been a long week, but oh yes, it was Tuesday in the middle of Betty Dangerous's happy hour when I realized that I had been permanently suspended. So right in the middle of the happy hour, I'm like, breaking news, you guys! I've been permanently banned from Twitter. And I looked around the squares and realized that pretty much all the dearest people in my life in this fight that we fight, I met on Twitter. And so kind of was a moment, but I also had just written the Cult of the Genius Tech Bro for Byline Supplement, which really, I think was it featured all my smart friends commenting on these imaginary myths that have been built up around really dangerous trolls. And so I wasn't surprised, but I just want to thank everybody who was so nice, because I said earlier that I'm used to the pain of this fight because the pain is ongoing all the time and has been for 7 years, but not as used to the love. So I just want to thank everybody for their kindness. I think there were people who were more distraught than I was. I was figuring it would happen at some point, but I won't lie, when I woke up the next morning and I had been unbanned after I had done appeal, and you know, my indiscretion was suggesting that, you know, Elon Musk be launched into space, which is something that I've said many times, and many people have said that.
I thought that's what he wanted anyway.
Well, regardless, you know, but I want to just say one thing before Jim jumps in. I actually did. I was very grateful when I was reinstated because my life's work is on that Faircocta platform. Just like Jim understands, I can think of an adjective and plug it in with my last name, and there's a thread that I did that is exactly what I want to say about something in real time. And so that would be quite a loss. But when I did find out I was reinstated, I did copy Jim, which I know he knows. From the first time you got banned, where you came back on and you said cracks knuckles. So I did the same, and I'm sure some of our friends were aware of that meme. But anyway, I want to thank everybody is what I'm trying to say.
That was November 2021, the first time I got permanently banned for calling Joe Rogan Steve Bannon's GIMP. You know, I mean, the fuckery.
You got an article.
Yeah,
I did. I got an article. There was some uproar about it, and then I got banned 2 more times. Jesus Christ!
Whatever.
Let's be clear. That place has been a shit show since way before a lot of us.
Yeah.
Like, I got banned by Jack Dorsey and his fucking mafia.
Yeah.
For absolutely nothing at all. And, you know, we come to learn, shockingly, that there were all kinds of Saudi agents running around in there and demanding and receiving information about Saudi dissidents.
Yeah.
You know, which may or may not have caused the death of, you know, a number of them. So it's been a dirty shithole for a really long time. Elon Musk has just taken it to an art form.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I did my little part to be a pain in the ass. I just kept replying to Elon Musk and saying that he's an enormous pussy every time he tweeted anything. So
Well, I was very
I have no
concerned
idea
that
if
I kept sending you messages saying, please don't get banned because I got banned. Please, I can't deal with it.
If he bans me for calling him pussy, it's the best day of my life.
I understand that, but I need you, man. It's hard enough being hi-fi down, man down.
I don't come near any controversial words, and yours shouldn't have been. Shooting someone into space is not a violent act. That is a joke. It's silly. Nobody's getting shot, and nobody's going into the cold reaches of space. Get a fucking grip.
Yeah.
And and speaking of our trolls, they're like, "Oh, look, you're so violent." And Jeff Flynn pops in. "Oh, Heidi's such a dangerous thug." Trying to. He actually said, "The poor unwitting billionaire had no idea that thug is."
I feel bad for that man. I do. I feel bad making himself make. I know you don't, and you've got reason to not. He's been violently aggressive towards you for a long time. But I still feel like what is it's a tragedy. I just the whole yeah.
I mean, it's a tragedy to the extent that he was born the runt of a Christo-fascist, if not just straight up Nazi family that believed the wrong side of the second world war.
He's the runt of a litter of Nazis. Come on now.
I did type that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is eloquent. I like that. That's a good.
And I don't say that lightly.
I know you don't.
I do not say it lightly. I don't. Being a Nazi is a very serious thing.
Yes, it is.
But when you act like a Nazi, when you plagiarize Hitler, and when every single action that you take is to support a fascist movement, you're a fucking Nazi.
So,
sorry.
Yeah, I did a report for Betty Dangerous, my Substack, called Losing Sleep and Plagued by an Ulcer. Those are words directly from Ruth Ben-Ghiat's Strongmen, because before Mussolini just declared the first fascist dictatorship, he was losing sleep and plagued by an ulcer because he had, a couple of his goons had murdered his opposition, who was creating a dossier of his corruption. And the people really rejected him after that. So that's why he declared a fascist dictatorship. But I bring that up because independent investigative reporters are incredibly dangerous to these guys, because most of the world seems willing to obey in advance. 30% of the population seems to think authoritarianism is the way to go. And so
I mean, that's kind of just like 30% of people. And this is a known thing. 30% of people are prone to authoritarianism, and that doesn't mean they're prone to be authoritarians. It means they are prone to like authoritarians and be part of an authoritarian system. That what we're experiencing is that 30% being activated by a bunch of psychological warfare to turn those people who want authoritarian, who are sort of naturally inclined to do it, to move in that actual direction in real life. And that's the whole thing that's pernicious about all of this. It's taking differences in normal human, behavior, and turning it into a cartoonish terrifying version of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Hold on.
yeah.
Speaking of cartoonish and fucked up and fascist, this.
Для нас то, что происходит в сегодняшних условиях, на мой взгляд, это хорошо.
Почему?
Потому что это показывает всю гнилость американской политической системы, которая не может претендовать на то, чтобы учить других демократии. Все, что происходит с Трампом, это преследование по политическим мотивам своего политического конкурента. Вот что это такое. И делается это на глазах общественности США и всего мира. Они просто обнажили свои проблемы внутренние. И в этом смысле, если они пытаются с нами там в чем-то бороться, хорошо, потому что это показывает, кто с нами борется.
So the fun part about that is that the opponents are the same for Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, right? He's literally saying out loud, I'm on the side of Donald Trump against these other people in America, right? I mean, I just don't know. I mean, if people can't understand it, when all the parties, every single one of them, Joe Flynn is in my thing calling me a Nazi because I had a Ukrainian flag, literally. You know, if you've got people on all sides agreeing that they're on the same team, that seems like something that we should fucking do something about.
Yeah.
And so you know, my last day has been just you know, thinking through how bad it is that you know, we've got all this sort of excitement around Trump getting indicted and whatever indictments in Georgia, and absolutely nothing is it's not affecting any of the crimes that are ongoing every single day, all day long at all. All it's doing is providing propaganda at this point, and so is, for example, Hunter Biden. I mean, assigning a special counsel to a garden variety drug addict who maybe, you know, checked the wrong box on a fucking gun form. Are you shitting me? Can you imagine if a Republican was charged for any of that shit, right? Like it's just very, very concerning to me that these very large organs of government, right? The Congress, where half the people are in a literal death cult. We've got the Supreme Court, where 2/3 of it are Christo-fascist cult members, right? And our fucking military has Charles Flynn in charge of the Pacific Fleet. And nobody is paying any fucking attention to the source of these problems. They're not telling us about Kremlin infiltration, Kremlin propaganda, psyops, the fact that we can explain to every American, if we want to, why is it that cousin Barbie has gone off the fucking deep end? Why is my mom this way? Why is my sister calling me a pedo? Why? That trauma, the trauma of not knowing what the fuck happened to your loved one, is the biggest source of pain in this nation right now, and no one even mentions it.
Yeah.
No one mentions the fact that families and churches and communities and towns and the fucking country, if they have their way, are being split.
Yeah.
And it's being split by an enemy foreign power with the assistance of American traders. And we understand the entire pipeline,
Yeah.
the psychology behind it, the fucking network, all of it. And our DOJ is spending their time prosecuting Hunter fucking Biden. Are you serious?
So I have thoughts about it.
My day has been just being mad at people.
I understand.
Not different from any day, but
So
I know those feels, bro. I know those
So
feels.
I want to try to say 3 things and see if I can actually keep it in my head long enough, because I'm exhausted. So one thing, I've been trying to attend the Kremlin File Lounge with Monique and Olga, which is every Wednesday. It's really important. And those two women, I wish those two women were actually running the world because they're so incredible. But Olga was talking about how the garbage GOP politics and bullshittery right now really weakens us, really weakens us globally. It's just, it plays right into the hands of our enemies, as we just saw there. And I know this was not the point of that Putin clip, but I don't think he's ever looked weaker to me, because when you have to go, pay a visit to North Korea, that's not a strong move. But B, I know it's not the point, but it's like, too much Botox is a bad thing. And I'm just saying, like, the whole thing is not a good look. And I don't know. I think it's time the Russian citizens do fucking something about him. So garbage GOP politics weakens us globally. And that's something to think about, because the media continues to act like it's real when it's junk that's designed to try to destroy democracy in myriad ways, and plays into the hands of our enemies. Originally, when Merrick Garland made the announcement about the special counsel, I thought he's doing that because he knows nothing's going to come of it, and that way it won't look political. It's like, okay, he did it. But Ruth said it doesn't fucking matter, because none of this is real. So it's not like you appease them and it's so great. It's like, see, we gave you our special counsel. Not how it works. It's all garbage. It's all political maneuvering designed by those who are trying to destroy democracy to weaken us further. So there's another point, but go ahead, Hi-Fi.
Well, that's why we had Laura on to talk about the things she does, right? Because
let's do it.
So our organizations that we support, like I mentioned, Grassroots, voter engagement, and voter registration groups that are in the most critical states. So to identify the groups that we support, we have two kind of basic questions. The first is, where, in what states, would one extra vote have the greatest impact? So that's, the marginal difference between a Democrat winning the seat and a Republican. A great example of this is here in Arizona. Our Attorney General, Chris Mays, won by just 256 votes. So when you're registering, it's amazing. That's a statewide office that was decided by less than 300 votes. It's unbelievable.
That's important. That's really important.
Wow.
Because if they get in next time,
well, that's what David Pepper's whole mission is.
Yeah, that's Joe Flynn, told me I'm pretty much a dead man, so vote Biden to save Hi-Fi.
Well,
that's my new
slogan. Yeah, I mean, he told me I was going to be in a gulag, so whatever. I will. If one of those fuckers gets in, I'm out. I'm serious. It's not. It's going to be extremely bad if we don't do something about this. The other thing, the thing is, I want to say one thing, which is that voting is important. Absolutely. And get out there and do all the politics you could possibly do. But politics is not going to win this. This is not politics at all anymore. It's psychological warfare. And we have to start treating it as such. If our government isn't going to do anything about it, if any of the people in power are not going to do anything about it, we are going to have to defend ourselves. We're going to have to share information about how this works so that more and more people don't get pulled in. I have a friend that some of us know who went to visit their family and came back with 3 less loved ones than they had. you know, people that they've known for decades, who one flew off the left-hand side and is following RFK around. The other one flew off the right-hand side and is tweeting transphobia all fucking day long, right? Like, and from a loving family of normal people.
Yeah.
And this just happened this morning, and it set me off because it was just so fucking tired of hearing from people that are just losing humans. This is grief. This is a real thing. It's losing somebody that you love. That is one of the most traumatic things that can happen in the world. And this is an ongoing version. It's like they're alive and dead at the same time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, the number one priority in this election, leading up to it, and getting our politicians off their ass, is dealing with let me put it simply, defeating Putin, both over in Ukraine and over here.
Yeah.
Like, that's our top priority. He's fucking up the world, and it needs to stop, both over there and over here.
Yeah, there's a great Bad Religion song that we will only die by our own arrogance. And I think that I keep on revisiting our interview with Volodymyr Demchenko, the Ukrainian soldier and filmmaker, who talked about the worst places of hell are where the people who force people to live in lies, who create unreality and force people to live in lies, that those are the people who deserve to be in the worst places of hell. And I keep thinking that it's so obvious to us and our allies that there is this continual unreality that's continually pushed in unison by the Kremlin and the US traders in America. And I just think that, at some point, I do believe that they will combust on their own arrogance, because one of the things I learned from Keir Giles many years ago was that if they start to believe what they are selling, that's when things go really bad for them. And I think some of the people who are pushing these lies are getting high on their own supply.
I mean, you can just look at the number of dead conservative radio jockeys.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Like, it depends on where you are on the spectrum.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a war criminal doing war crimes over there, physical ones, and over here, psychological ones. And so it's, for me, it's just time to stop.
It's time. It's been time, but it's really time. One thing I want to bring up, Tim. One thing I want to tell you is that the reason Hillary lost in 2016, data-wise, by 77,000 votes, is because of what was a part of the military attack and psyop, which Steve Bannon also was involved in, and that was coming through Project Alamo, Cambridge Analytica, the whole coordinated Kremlin military operation. But what they did was they did a false equivalency between Trump and Hillary, both bad, stay home. And they targeted people of color, millennials, primarily those two groups. And they did. And she lost by 77,000 votes. And I bring that up because I am learning that there are people who are planning not to vote because they hate Trump, but they don't like Biden. It's the same Hillary narrative from 2016. And I have to, one at a time, take these people and explain that to not vote is voting for democracy to end. And when you frame it like that, they wake up a little bit. I go, you don't have to like Joe. You have to appreciate that he's a good man who's been keeping our country together during rough seas. and that's what you got to know. And I'm using that line from Simon, who does the Hopium Substack, where he's just like, just say to him, Joe Biden's a good man. And I used those words, and it worked. It gave some people pause, because all they hear about in their shit, Kremlin propaganda, news spheres, whatever, is negative stuff. But when somebody who they actually trust goes, he's actually a good man, it actually a little ray of light went in. So, but I'm concerned about those who plan not to vote, because it was that group that pushed Trump in. And the other part of this, Jim and Hi-Fi, is that if we cannot collectively get Americans to understand, all Americans to understand, that we are under attack by Russia and they're hacking our brains en masse, if we cannot get them to believe that, every day is going to be Groundhog Day, and we're not going to move forward in the numbers we need to move forward in. That message has to be delivered, and I suppose it has to be delivered by Joe Biden and other Western leaders, because we've been trying to deliver it.
Yes, it does. It has to come from the commander in chief. It has to come from the head of the joint staff. It has to come from the top, telling us what we already fucking know.
Yeah.
The fact, and that is the thing that is most disturbing to me, is that they know to a large extent what's going on, if not the whole picture. They absolutely know what the Kremlin is doing, what this propaganda and psyops are doing, and they are not telling us. They're not being honest about it. They're leaving it up to us to fucking explain it to people.
Yeah.
And it's a dereliction of duty, and it's putting us all in danger. I want to just fill in a little bit on the 2016, because yes, she lost by 77,000 votes, but it wasn't Cambridge Analytica Facebook ads. The Cambridge Analytica funneled all that to a whole bunch of entities, not just their Facebook ad team.
Yes.
One of those entities was MAGA3X.
Yeah.
MAGA3X is what did Pizzagate, what did all the Podesta emails, what did all of that shit. That was the raw material for all of this. It was the raw material for reopening her emails and all of those things, right? The thing about all of it, it all came from literal Russian hacked emails, right? Yeah. It came from Podesta's emails, which are hacked by the GRU. And Mike Flynn's best friend was at the GRU 2 months before the Russians hacked the emails at the DNC. Mike Flynn's best friend at the GRU died of a sudden heart attack at 60 years old. Isn't that weird? Anyway, the whole thing is observably, plainly, obviously a Russian-based, Russian-backed operation by American traders, and it's all there. It's traced. I've got threads for everything. I've got blog posts. It's all in front of us, and so I just want to make sure that we say the whole the depth, the whole breadth of it, because there's a lot of different things that add up to that very slim margin.
Yeah.
Including, by the way, and I'll land here, in terms of not voting for people or voting for a third party. What I guarantee you, there's going to be all sorts of third party candidates who are going to be out there. We've got no labels and all these fucking asshats.
Oh my God.
The same thing is not
Green
voting.
Party.
The Green Party, to say the least. Cornel West is, just
Jill Stein.
I mean, Jill Stein winning his fucking campaign.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, it's
hold on,
it's to me like so obvious, and what blows me away is that it's still only obvious to a not big enough group of U.S. citizens. Yeah.
The one thing that Jim forgot is that MAGA 3X was funded.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Oh my God, that meme is making its way in threads. I saw Jen Griffey or somebody using that meme, like starting to, it's funny because people are still doing like apologist, pieces for him. They're still trying to reputation wash him. I think one of the things
I
that
mean, Elon Musk was at the fucking White House a couple days ago for an AI summit.
yeah,
Like, why did you just let the guy who let
Yeah.
Google, like,
Yeah.
why, what the fuck?
I
Like,
don't know.
there is a lack of imagination in our government and a lack
Yeah.
of backbone when it
Yeah.
comes to saying, hey, no, actually, we don't want that fucking traitor in the White House. I
No, we
don't care if
don't.
he has $250 billion. I
We
don't
don't.
want him in the fucking White House.
Right.
That's the answer to that request. Is fuck
Right.
off, Russian warship, go, away.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Well, we are.
It's hold on. It's Ruski voyeni idi nahoy. Remember, we did this.
no, okay.
All right.
Russian warship, go fuck yourself.
That's right.
I'm having fun using old Russian terminology ever since Ruth Ben-Ghiat pointed out that the pillow guy looks like your typical middle manager communist. Like, she's like, he's looking more and more like one of those, like, mid-level communists. So
I run the nuclear power plant.
I've been having fun using words like, I don't even know how to pronounce apparatchik, but I'm going to try to learn how to pronounce it.
Apparatchik.
Apparatchik. I'm having fun with that. So one thing I do want to make sure I don't forget to say before this hour is up is Mitt Romney can fuck all the way off. I just had to. I had to get that out of my system.
Quote unquote. Fuck Mitt Romney.
All the way off.
All the way off. Hold on a second.
All the way off.
I read that article. I read the article he did in the Atlantic, right? And he's like, what happened to Josh Hawley? What happened to JD Vance? And all I want to say.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Because both of those fucking people, Josh Hawley was recruited at Stanford for the Stanford Review by Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel gave Josh Hawley $300,000 for Missouri Attorney General. Like, it's JD Vance. He's tied to Peter Thiel in so many ways. Rumble, a propaganda outlet, right?
Can you find when I got banned, when I got permanently suspended from Twitter for a day, can you find the Byline Supplement article that they did where they removed the paywall on the Cult of the Genius Tech Broke? Because I want to show Fred Wellman's tweet in that. Because Fred Wellman said something a couple years ago, and that's how we became friends with Fred, and that's how he started coming on our show. It's really freaking important because this is still the horse race is still what they're doing. And if you could, there it is. I think the media should cover these elections like they do business transactions. Billionaire investor Peter Thiel completed a key first step in his purchase of American democracy with the acceptance by the Ohio GOP of his $10 million bid for the Republican Senate seat there, 6:10 a.m., 5/4/2022. Thank you, Fred P. Wellman.
You know who else Peter Thiel gave $20 million to? And JD Vance?
Yeah, Vivi.
Vivek Ramaswamy, who both worked for Big Pharma and for George Soros, both of which are supposed to make you, persona, non grata forever. And sure enough, no one gives a shit. Isn't that weird? It's so weird that they don't care that their new little flyboy is a Soros Pfizer pawn.
Yes,
I know, right?
Let let me quote Goebbels one more time, guys.
Oh, good. Never
Propaganda as in love. Anything is permissible as long as it's successful. So anybody who's still like, why are they saying that? When over here, it's clear that they obviously know that they're corrupt and they're lying. It's because we're in a propaganda war. We need better words than propaganda. You know, the great information war, whatever you want to call it, cyber war, hybrid war, I don't know. But, you know, every day I put on my punk rock armor and I go spelunking in Twitter and I see that it's just nothing's really changed since 2016. Musk's purchase just, you know, allowed the re-escalation of all the bad actors and, you know, targeted attacks and troll farms. It was always there. It never really went away. Every now and then they do like kind of a little minor scrub, but that ball slapper, it was bad during the ball slappers period. Sorry. It was bad during the ball slappers period. And it's really bad during the
Can you pull up
no, please don't.
No,
please don't. Please
Come on.
Please don't. Please
Just
don't.
a couple seconds. It's the funniest thing of all time. You're disappointing our audience. Our audience,
you post it on your timeline. I'm not here. You want something funny? Let me give you something.
No.
Funny.
I don't want whatever your distraction. I don't want whatever your distraction.
It's the further adventures of Florida Man. Remember all those guys who were hanging?
No, I don't care.
Remember all those guys who were hanging those banners? In the blood tribe? Yeah. The dude got arrested because of a law that Ron DeSantis signed.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, now that's wonderful. Let's save that for when we start doing
That's good. Okay, now
yes.
Back to Jack Dorsey punching himself in the balls over and over and over again.
Yeah.
If since my co-hosts are too chicken, you can go to my
not too chicken. I just don't want to promote toxic masculinity.
Excuse me, towards this morning, and go see Jack Dorsey punch himself in the balls in front of a roaring fire over and over again. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I highly recommend it, even though my hosts are too chicken shit.
I'm not chicken shit. I don't want to promote toxic masculinity.
This is toxic masculinity.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
He's punching himself in the balls. You may think it's toxic masculinity.
Did you read?
I just have one question, Jim.
Did you read all the comments? Oh, I love Jack. I love Jack. Oh, Jack's so cool. Oh, Jack.
I have one question, Jim. Was he punching hard enough?
No, I know that. I'm saying the comments on the post.
Was he punching hard enough to do permanent damage?
No.
No, apparently not.
No.
Well, okay. Well, there's the fucking problem. He's not doing it hard enough.
You can like callus your balls apparently if you punch them on a regular basis. Like it's a thing. Like
that's enough. That's enough ball talk for now.
No, I'm just saying like martial artists and stuff. Like once you get to black belt, you're supposed to be able to get kicked in the balls over and over and over again. So I think.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I think I want to. I'll just wear a cup, man. We have those now.
Okay, so John,
you're not going to take that to like the grocery store.
That's that.
What if you get in trouble at the grocery store and somebody?
Okay, thank you.
Constantly.
Let's see another clip. What do we got?
Let's talk. Hey, Laura talked about some more of her wins, and I thought that was pretty cool. So
okay, let's see it.
Some ways that we made a difference. I love to talk about. That's fun for me. In 2022, which was an off year. Off years are always difficult in terms of moving money and voter turnout and all of those things. We moved over $3 million to a slate of 8 organizations. One of them was Take Action Minnesota, based in Minnesota, and it's a multiracial, across class, across gender organization that is just doing incredible work. So they did huge get out the vote efforts. They endorsed a lot of really strong candidates who are forward thinking and fighting for people. And I think what's so special about the results in 2022 in Minnesota, which, you know, is as close to being blue of a purple state as you get.
Right.
Minnesota is so purple. The 2 seats, so Minnesota now has a Democratic governor and control of both parties, both chambers of the state legislature, the House and Senate. They flipped the Senate by 2 seats, and the total votes that those 2 seats were flipped by were under 1,000 votes.
Nice.
Unbelievable.
Snap.
Every vote counts. So I know everyone's sick of hearing that your vote matters, but I think incredible, huge news, but even more exciting is what they've actually been able to do with that. You know, the Democratic governor, control of the state legislature, free school meals in public schools. It gives me chills. Like, that's just so exciting. They passed a law that prevents discrimination around hair. It's called the Crown Act, and it's to protect Black women and however they choose to show up in the workplace. Incredible. They're now a climate leader in the country. They passed a clean energy bill to be, I think it's by 2040, 100% renewable energy in the state of Minnesota. And that's with 1 seat majority. Just 1. Like, it's so, can you tell? It gets me so jazzed.
Me too.
And I just think that's such a beacon for what's possible, what happened in Minnesota, and Michigan is the same. Michigan, our partner there, Detroit Action, incredible work, engaging in Black and brown communities in Detroit. Michigan is the same. They've passed gun legislation that it's just common sense gun reform. They're, you know, in that same 2022 election, they enshrined the right to abortion in their state constitution. And it's just such, like, it's the
Did you like hear that, guys? Like, a beacon for the possibilities when you actually support organizations doing the work and labor of democracy, that in less than 1,000 votes, you can make sure that kids get to eat, that women can show up with their hair in the tradition that they choose. And you know what? You can get gun legislation, enshrine women's healthcare access. Like, I'm noticing in the platform formerly known as Twitter that there's a lot of despair ops. Oh, I'm so down on Biden that I'm not going to vote. We talked about this earlier, but that's an operation, okay? Your vote fucking matters, and you either want America to continue or you don't, or you want to vote for war criminal Vladimir Putin, who traffics children and commits genocide. Fuck you if that's what you want to do. I'm sorry. I don't know. I feel like, wake up. Like, don't, just wake up. I'm usually nice, but I don't feel nice about that. I feel like if you're going to not vote, then I don't know.
I mean, those people are being influenced just like everybody else is. It's no different. Look, there's as we've discussed many times, the infiltration and propaganda is a horseshoe. It goes all the way around the political spectrum. And right in the middle of that horseshoe are nihilists, are people who don't identify with either party, right?
Yeah.
There is the horseshoe, the Red-Brown Alliance, whatever you want to call it, which is the melding of the extreme right and extreme left to create a nihilist third position. That is what the KGB and the United States, for that matter, did it in other countries around the world for decades. And they're doing it over here at scale, like in front of us on fucking Zitter.
Yeah.
So what Heidi is saying is exactly accurate. It's psychological warfare. It is a well-known tactic of the KGB, and if everybody please remember, Vladimir Putin is a KGB officer.
Yeah.
He will not be a KGB officer. That's all he is.
Yeah.
All he has ever done is active measures against other countries.
Yeah.
I just need to throw in that it's not just Russia, right? Because Saudi Arabia is aiding and abetting a ridiculous amount of this stuff,
but
right? There's a lot of Saudi Arabian money. That's why
it's the same thing as fossil fuel.
There's a man in
The Saudis and Putin are 100% aligned in this process.
Yeah, so it's the same thing.
To destroy Western liberal democracies. That is the whole. So one of the things that also kills me is just the blindness about Saudi Arabia, right? I mean, we've got on the anniversary of 9/11. We got to remember the fucking Saudis did that.
Yeah.
The Saudis. My tweet on this subject was the Saudis destroyed the World Trade Center, golf, and Twitter.
Yeah.
Right. Literally, their whole project is to destroy the institutions of Western civilized democracy, and they're going to take a building out over here, take golf out over a sport out over here, take over the town square over here, and suddenly you've got what we're seeing right now. But the Saudis and Putin, and Netanyahu at this point, for that matter, can be really
that guy too.
Be considered part of the same fascist conspiracy.
I would just like to point out that that Pompeo, MBS, and Netanyahu met secretly on a yacht in the Red Sea. So one has to wonder what those gentlemen were up to at that point.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yachts are crime scenes. All these guys in their yachts are freaking crime scenes.
Right.
I want to.
George, I just wanted to say George Nader was at Trump Tower all throughout 2016. George Nader is a convicted child sex trafficker and pedophile who was a representative of both MBS and MBZ. MBZ being the ruler of the United Arab Emirates.
And Eric Prince's, cozy relationship with the Seychelles and all that good stuff. So I want to read a quote by the dearly departed Rep. John Lewis. And if you don't know much about this man's life, there are documentaries about him. And it's really important that we as Americans know the sacrifices John Lewis made to ensure, rights, human rights. He wrote on Twitter in 2016, "The right to vote is precious, almost sacred. It is the most powerful nonviolent tool or instrument in a democratic society. We must use it." So if you don't believe me or Jim or Hi-Fi, believe John Lewis, who actually got his head bashed in order to stand up for the rights of people. So,
Speaking of standing up for the rights of people, I have kind of a long clip that I'd like to end with, and we'd have to start it pretty much now.
Let's do it.
I don't think we should play all 7 minutes of that thing. Now.
What are we watching?
It's with the FBI whistleblower.
Oh yeah.
And it's an important video, and I think people should watch it. I don't know if we should screen all 7 minutes of it here, but it is a FBI whistleblower who was investigating Giuliani and Russian mafia.
Yeah.
And as soon as he started to tell his superiors that he wanted to go after Rudy Giuliani, who appeared to this FBI agent to be a front man, for billions of dollars and potential Russian deals, suddenly shut this guy down, shut down his investigation, and basically got him kicked out of the FBI, all because of a Russian investigation. And guess which branch the New York FBI, or Charles McGonigal.
McGonagall. Yeah.
And I read the entire transcript of his testimony, and he said McGonagall still, as of 18 months ago, had significant sway at the New York FBI after he had been gone for years.
Yeah.
So we've got a very serious problem in the FBI, all the way up to the top, and fire director fucking Ray, because fuck him.
Yeah.
I want to share this because you see Rudy Giuliani here in the middle. The billionaire they're talking about is this guy down here, Fuchs, and this was the person who has ties to transnational organized crime, and supposedly he gave Rudy Giuliani $300,000, right?
Well, a lot of these guys are organized crime.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's kind of it's a network.
Deripaska, Malofiev, all of them were involved in that whole thing.
Durkash, yeah.
Well, I don't mind watching 7 minutes, but is there 3 minutes of it in the, what do you recommend, Jim? What part of it?
I don't know. We can just play it, I guess. And
let's
just
watch
play
the
it.
first couple minutes.
Let's just
Let's
just play
the first
it.
couple minutes, and then I'll end it.
All right.
I didn't want to be a whistleblower. I wanted nothing to do with it. I was at my wit's end. I saw important intelligence reporting being suppressed. I started to experience what I believe to be discrimination, character assassination, really. My name is Jonathan Buma, and I'm a FBI special agent. When I went and presented to the assistant director in charge over at Los Angeles field office, he was very interested in the allegations concerning potentially implicating the Bidens and involved in business deals with Burisma, a company that was involved in alleged criminal activity. He's very interested, and he was adamant about packaging that information up and transferring that to the appropriate case agent right away. But during the same meeting, when I attempted to provide information that Rudy Giuliani may have been compromised by individuals suspected of being involved in Russian counterintelligence influence operations, he shut me down and the meeting ended. I came to know that Giuliani had received $300,000 from Pavlo Fuchs, a very powerful businessman who had deep ties with a transnational organized crime syndicate. He was based in Ukraine, and that was deeply concerning to me, especially having heard that Giuliani had been working for the president pro bono. My questions that were going through my head were, who does he really work for? I wasn't trying to, implicate Trump or do anything that would, injure his reputation. This reporting implicates Giuliani. He was the one that was in ongoing contact with foreign nationals and, political activists who would receive hundreds of thousands of dollars from these sources. And at that time, Joe Biden was not yet the Democratic nominee. I said to my co-handling agent, I said to him, why do they keep going back to the Bidens? So what if this is the leading edge of a disinformation campaign to create a theme of derogatory information about the Bidens in anticipation that Biden would be Trump's main political rival? And I started to experience pushback. All of my reporting came under really tight scrutiny, to the point where I went from getting exceptional performance awards to being told that I was an inconsistent performer and that I had all these administrative, and I don't have a history of that, the 13 years before that. So it got to the point where it's pretty intolerable. So I filed a whistleblower complaint. All FBI agents get annual training concerning the protected federal whistleblower statute, which says that if you see misconduct in management, then you can file a whistleblower complaint with the inspection division. The managers involved in your chain of command are prohibited from committing any acts that could be considered reprisal or retaliation. From that point forward, the retaliation actually increased, and I experienced no such protection, and there's never any mention or acknowledgement outside of an automated email response saying we received your information and a letter that said we received your information. Nothing, no interviews, no anything. And an email was sent with a brand new supervisors that specifically prohibited me from doing any more reporting on criminal matters, public corruption matters, or reporting on anyone related to the White House or any current or former associates of Trump.
That seems bad.
So what do you? Yeah.
I mean, look, it's just blatant corruption inside the FBI being driven by, you know, the rotten piece of shit that called himself president. And who was helping? Chris fucking Wray. And you know, Christopher Wray was also the guy who oversaw the ridiculous investigation into Q in early 2019 that, you know, was like, no, we looked into it, doesn't seem that bad. And QAnon went batshit after that because they knew that they were no longer under investigation. So you're muted, Boomer. Boomindy Boomer.
And now it's everywhere.
Christopher Wray should step down and go back to work for the law firm that works for Russian oil interests. Just call it a day.
Speaking of calling it a day.
Well, guys, we kept it real. Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you soon.